What's up, everybody? One Fun Guy podcast in the studio. Tonight is not an official podcast, but I just wanted to give everybody some insight as to what is going on with the podcast. So we have Kaji lined up for this Saturday. If you're not familiar with Kaji, he is a musician on TikTok who has a huge music following. He is a fantastic guitar player and an excellent musician, and I'm stoked to have him on. My podcast has been kind of interesting as of late because the last few guests I had have been in the musical field. And for me, music is pretty much everything. I grew up with it. It's been a huge part of my life. So I'm trying to get more musicians on and people in the music business. But it's not the sole purpose of my podcast, but it's just I like to do things that I'm interested in, which happens to be music, watches, different types of people in the business community, people who grow their own business, just because it's so close to home for me. It's easy to talk about. But I'm not opposed to getting other people on with other walks of life as well. So what I'd like to do from here on out into the future is I've always had a list of people that I wanted on the show. And it's just now becoming more and more of a time issue, right? So Letitia sent me a message. She says, "Hey, I'm super sorry I can't do the podcast. Can we please schedule for after my opening?" So she is a new member in the business community in the chamber that we're in, and she is actually having her ribbon cutting ceremony this Friday. So she was like, "I'm just super busy. I ran out of time. Can we please do it after my ribbon cutting ceremony?" I said, "Sure, no problem." However, the issues that I run into now are I don't have a guest for my podcast for that week. So what I was going to do was just go on my own and do my own podcast. And I was like, well, that's kind of like not what I was kind of set up as, but it's just unfortunate, but things happen, right? People's schedules change, things change, issues come up. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my dates ahead of time, and I'm going to try to do pre-recorded shows. I didn't really want to do that. I always said I'd like to go live just because I like being in the moment. I like the excitement. I like, the anticipation. I like everything about just hitting the live button and going, right? So all of my podcasts, all 18 of them so far, have been live, either with somebody in my studio or virtually with outside of that. I just kind of realized with scheduling, I think what I'm going to have to do is just pre-record some of them, keep them in the vault. And then if something happens with a live podcast, at least I have one on standby to go with. I didn't want to do that. That was never the theme of my podcast. I always wanted to go live. That was kind of my goal. But with scheduling issues, conflicts, life happening, things going on, people just sometimes have to cancel or apologize and want to reschedule, which again, for me is no big deal. I completely understand that. But from having a perspective of running a podcast, it just doesn't fit the realm of weekly shows if you don't have a guest for that week. So it's just a kind of a little, bump in the road. It's not anything. I just wanted to let everybody know that moving forward, I might not be live like when I post the podcast like I am now. I will be a pre-recorded podcast that I'll just post, and that, like I said, will be on the back burner if things happen to go sideways with a particular guest that I have on. Now, I can do the solo podcast if I have a particular topic that somebody wants me to talk about. So when I go live, I always have my guests lined up and the questions I'm going to ask them in the conversation, it's going to go. Now, that can travel in and out of sequence all the time, right? Have some questions lined up and we get on another topic. We talk about that. We go back. We try to, revert back to where we were at initially, but things just happen, right? So what I'm going to do now, like I said, with a pre-recorded podcast, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know a lot of people do that, but I just think that if I'm going to continually do a podcast every week, if something were to happen with that week's guest, instead of me flying solo, I think what I'll do is just have one in the vault just in case that happens and then go from there. The only hard thing with that is it's hard to put it out, right? So Kaji's going to be my guest on Saturday. I've been promoting him and his podcast for Saturday. Now, if I recorded the podcast with Kaji and saved it in the vault, and one of my guests happens to text me on Wednesday or Thursday and says, hey, Friday or Saturday is not going to work for me, well, then it's going to be hard for me to promote that podcast with the one I have in the vault because it's not ready to go. It's just on standby. So those are the issues that I'm kind of running into. And I think other podcasters do that as well. And I just don't want to do a bunch of pre-recorded podcasts. Like I said, I like doing the live version of it. To me, it just makes more sense. It feels more natural. I just have, an incredibly hard time wrapping my head around doing the pre-recorded ones and then just posting them out at certain dates and certain times. I have thought about doing a podcast every other week, but then I just kind of want to fall into, the guests that I have lined up, and when they happen, it's more organic. I meet people. I ask them if they want to be guests. We say yes. We talk about things that are going on. Sometimes I do happen to do back-to-back shows where like a Saturday and Sunday. If I do that, maybe what I'll do is then take the week off because I've done 2 shows in 2 weeks type of situation. I'm not sure. But if anybody has any opinions or any ideas or any way that I should navigate this, whether you're watching this live or you catch it on the replay, if you could just write it in the comments, that would be awesome. Like I really want my audience to be, involved in what I'm doing and how I, promote my podcast and what I do. So with that being said, it leaves me in my next point of my YouTube channel. I'm One Fun Guy Podcast on YouTube. If you guys could just take a couple seconds of your time and go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe, that would help me out a lot. The guest that I have on my show that I want to have on, I am too small of a channel right now to be able to do that. I have about 950 friends on Facebook, and I have about 5,000 followers on TikTok and a couple hundred subscribers on my Instagram. And I'm trying to get everybody on these platforms over to my YouTube channel, because once I hit those numbers of YouTube, the thousands and beyond, a lot of the guests will tell me flat out, their management team will message me and say, listen, we would love to be on your show. You just don't have a big enough, my client or my clients won't do your podcast unless you have 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, 200,000 subscribers, right? They want big channels to promote what they're doing. And again, some of these people that I've reached out to are mega stars, right? They have millions and millions of followers on their social media. So I don't have that yet, right? I'm a small fish in a big pond. But my goal is to get to that point where I could start asking people and they'll say, yeah, you're close enough. We will consider doing your show. That way, I don't need, the viewership up. I need the actual numbers up. So it's kind of like a pleading, question. If you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel, it would help me out immensely if everybody could just take 30 seconds and subscribe. I will drop the link in the bio of this video where you can go to hit my YouTube channel. If you would just subscribe, that would be great, because I just need the sheer numbers right now. Unfortunately, that's the way that the game is played. I'm working hard to get those numbers up and to have my podcast be successful. However, the only way to do that is to get eyes on my YouTube channel and people to subscribe to help me out. So I'm not begging, I'm just asking nicely. If you guys would do that for me, that would help very, very much. Now, the third topic of what I want to talk about is actually how my guests work, right? So I've been getting kind of ballsy lately in emailing and messaging big stars, right? Celebrities that I'm fans of. And a lot of times it goes unnoticed, but every once in a while I will get somebody from their management team saying, hey, tell us about your podcast, send us your link, and we'll check it out and we'll see if it fits our clients' needs. So that's been kind of my ambition, is I would rather ask and be told no than not ask at all. So I think a lot of what I do and how I approach it really goes into play in how I want my channel to grow. I want to be that guy where I reach out to people and they'll say, yeah, you know what, we'll give the little guy a chance, right? We were once in that position. We will help you out. So with that being said, the more people I have subscribed to my YouTube channel will allow me to vet the guest on. Now, all the people that I've had on the show have all been special to me, right? And they will continue to be special to me. They're people that I've went out and reached and asked to be on my show. they know their importance of my show and how much I appreciate them doing that, from guest one till all the way up to Greg. But if I want to start having bigger guests on my show and more, I don't want to say famous, but I guess that's the word, would be famous. I need my numbers up. It's just a sheer, algorithm thing where they want to see big channels and they want their people to be on big channels. So my goal is to get to that point. I'm not there yet, but I do have, the ambition to get there. And that's what my goal is. Now, there's certain things I plan on doing in the near future to try to advocate for myself to get that without, like I said, begging. I can ask nicely, I can plead, I can, really go out. But if I grow my YouTube channel and I get to the 1,000 people, it's not for monetization points. That's not my goal, is to start making money off of this. But it's a numbers game. And the more subscribers I have on my YouTube channel, the more inclined people will be to do my show. So I'm not doing it for money. It's more for pride. But the pride is getting the people that I want on my show. Like I said, I'm not discouraging the people that have been on my show, or telling, them that they're not, they haven't been important to me. They have. But in order for me to grow and get bigger, I need bigger people with more following, with more subscribers, and more sheer numbers. And it's not because I don't think that people are important that I've had on my show, but they're just people that I would want to interview. And like I said, when I reach out to them and their staff, they always tell me, your channel looks great, but you just don't have the numbers. So with that being in the game of the podcasting world, that's what I need, right? So I need the numbers up. And again, it's not for money, it's for the pride of having these guests on my show. So, like I said, this is not an official podcast, but it's just, I came on live stream so I can promote it to my YouTube channel, to get my videos up and out there, and go from there. So as always, I will jump back to the beginning of the show, where I always do my introduction. I'm the One Fun Guy podcast, live in the studio. Tonight's guest is going to be so-and-so. And then I always do my sponsorship, right? So I've been very lucky to have the Clubhouse Inc. sponsor my podcast. All the shirts that I've worn have been courtesy of the Clubhouse Inc. And again, that is very special to me. So when I say go to the website at www.shoptheclubhs, and you can find these hoodies and everything else too, that leads me back to my first guest, which was Crystal. She has a boutique, and she was like, do you mind if I get my name out there for you? No. I said, no, absolutely. That's what I'm here to do, right? Her business was long before my podcast, and it's special to me and it's special to us. Now, there is a Navy SEAL that I watch on YouTube, and he has his own brand and his own company. And so he always goes on and says, today's show is sponsored by me. And I was like, well, if you have a company or something you're attached to and you can use it, then use it. And that's what I did. So Crystal was nice enough to give me a bunch of hoodies and say, yeah, just tell everybody where you got them. If they want to hop over and see, they can. So that's what I did. So all the stuff that I wear is sponsored by the Clubhouse. So it's www.shoptheclubhs. So that leads me into my next point, which is sponsorships. If anybody has a business out there or wants me to wear their stuff on my podcast and give them a shout out, feel free to send me a message, whether it's here on Facebook or on onefunguypodcast@gmail.com. Shoot me a message or send me an email, and I will be more than happy to wear your stuff or show what you have on my podcast, for support. That's how friends help each other out. So if you're a friend of mine and you own a business, or you own a, some kind of logo that you want me to wear, feel free to reach out. Now, again, I'm not begging for this, right? I don't need it, but I'm willing to help people out because I had the help coming up to start the podcast and to do everything else. So fair is fair. And I just kind of want to put the good karma back into the world, that if you have a business or you have something that you want me to push out, let me know and I will drop it on my podcast, and you can sponsor that episode and I will give you a shout out. So I just kind of want to put this into the universe that if anybody's out there watching my podcast, whether you're seeing it live now or you're going to watch it in the future or come across it, if you happen to own a business and you want me to shout you out on my podcast, send me a message or shoot me an email and we will make that happen. So it's all about networking, guys, right? I've said that before on my podcast and I will continue to say it. Networking, whether it's socially or in person, is huge. And I do that all the time. That's how I've gotten the guest on my show, is asking them if they want to be on my podcast. If they say yes, I give them a rundown of what happens and we kind of go from there. So I'm excited, guys, about my podcast. I'm really happy that it's gotten to the point where it's gotten. They do say the fail rate is after 6 episodes. If you've reached 6 episodes and you can continue on, it's basically a success in the podcast world and especially the live podcast world. So I'm happy that I'm at 18. This would be, if it's unofficial, it's still 18. If this is an official podcast, which I might just make it an episode. I'm already at 15 minutes now, and I still have a few more things to cover. So I might just make this an official podcast. So we'll call it 19, and I'm going from there. So again, I always take the time to thank everybody who's been a fan, who supported me in my journey, who's been on my show, who shared my stuff, who gives me the thumbs ups and the likes and the follows. You all are very special to me. And like I said, one day when I'm at that big number, I will never forget looking back at these episodes and the people that have surrounded me and growing my channel and growing my community, because you guys are the first. You were the ones that made this happen. You are my foundation, my base. And I'll never forget that. So I'm happy and excited to see where this podcast goes and who I have on. And my first big guest have been last week and this week, which was Greg and Kaji. And Kaji's got a huge following on TikTok. I will leave the links to his stuff on this show as well. Follow him on TikTok. He is an amazing guitar player. He plays heavy metal music, which I'm into. So bands like Spirit Box and Knocked Loose and Kuba Khan and all these other bands. He is a fantastic musician, and he agreed to be on my podcast. So he will be this Saturday. Now, the time is going to be an issue because he is in Sweden. So he is about 7.5, 8 hours ahead of me. So if it's our 8 o'clock a.m., it's, I believe, their 3 o'clock p.m. So for him, it'll be afternoon. For me, it'll be morning, but I'm going to go live. And I will post a video to YouTube, so it will be there. I will just wake up a little bit earlier. If you're on and you're up, feel free to grab a cup of coffee and join me with Kaji, because like I said, in the Central Standard Time of the United States, it's 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. It'll be his, I believe, 2:30 or 3:30. I'm not sure which one it is, but for us, it'll be awesome. And he's excited. I'm excited. So he's kind of like my first big musician that I'm having on. And Greg was like my first big guest with a lot of following in the watch community. So I appreciate them taking, an hour out of their day to do my podcast. So I'm excited about that. Now, again, I do have a couple local people like Letitia. She unfortunately had some stuff happen in an emergency type of situation. And she was like, can we just reschedule? I said, sure. The same thing happened with American Overdose. I posted their stuff up. They are a nationwide touring band. They are awesome. I've been in touch with the lead singer, Cody, and their marketing team. And unfortunately, their tour has been successful, but they've hit a lot of road bumps in the road, literally. And they keep sending me messages saying, we'd love to be on your podcast. We still want to do it. We just don't have time. Things came up. Something happened with all their gear, their equipment. They've been having technical problems. And they're like, we just don't have the time to do it. We're trying to figure everything out. So I can't make them do it, right? So was I upset? No. Was I disappointed? Yes. I understand things happen in life and things don't always go your way as is planned. So at least I was, thankful enough that they would get back to me where I could have enough time to say, listen, today's podcast is going to be rescheduled, where I wasn't going live waiting for them to hop on and then be like, okay, where are they type of situation. So I do thank them for, letting me know ahead of time that they weren't going to be able to do it. So that, was a positive, for me and their book, that they actually did get back to me and that I wasn't live waiting for them to hop on. And, all of a sudden they're not there. And then I'm like, oh, my guest star, where are they to be found type of thing. So I appreciate that. But it's just one of those things now where my main focus is reaching out to those bands, reaching out to these groups, reaching out to these musicians and celebrities to be on my podcast. So that's what I'm trying to do. So in order to grow my channel, I have to get the numbers up, and that's what I'm trying to do. So Greg's helped me do that. Kaji's definitely going to help me do that. The next few guests that I have lined up have big TikTok followings. So my goal is to have them be a part of what I'm doing in my community, sharing into their community, getting eyes on me. So, like I said, it's all about the networking, it's all about the growth, and it's all about the productivity. And that's what I'm trying to do, is make this as entertaining as possible for you guys, but also having good guests that put, good, vibes into the world. They have positive messages. They have things that they're doing to help people. They have things that, they have on their plate that they want to put into the world. And they just use my podcast as a platform to do that, which I am more than happy to let them do that. That's what I want to do. That's why I started the podcast, was to just put good vibes into the universe. And that's what it's all about. I'm having fun doing it. And the guests I have, have a great message to put into what they're doing, or they've worked hard to get where they're at to promote what they're doing. And that's what it's all about. So I'm happy, but I'm also busy, but I'm also kind of, I don't want to say discouraged because that's not the right word, but I am motivated, I guess, to get the numbers up. And I just unfortunately need them on YouTube in order to get the guests that I want to have on my show eventually. Like I said, it's just a sheer numbers game. The more people you have subscribed to you, the more it looks like your channel is growing, and the more willing people are to come on to say, yes, you have 1,000 followers. Yes, you have 5,000 subscribers. Yes, you have 10,000 subscribers. We'll do it. And that's kind of where I need to go. I need to get to that point. And I knew it was not going to be an easy journey, but I knew it was going to be a fun one. And that's the route that I'm taking, is to have fun while I'm doing this. But at some point, I do need my numbers to come up in order to get those people on my show. So it'll happen eventually. I'm not, like I said, I'm not, focused mainly on the money part of it. I'm mainly focused on the numbers part of it. And again, I understand that with numbers comes money and comes, things onto your podcast and things happen. But unfortunately, for right now, I don't have either one of those, and I just need the numbers. I'm not really worried about the money right now. That will happen down the road. I get that. But the numbers I do need up, and I do need that to happen relatively quickly if I am going to have the guests that I want on my show. Like I said, I've been turned down now by 3 famous people saying you just don't have the numbers, or we definitely would do your show. So my goal now is to get the numbers. So that was one of my main motivations for doing the live tonight, as kind of a podcast setting, because I need to put that out there into the universe, that I need people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is scrolling across the screen right now. At the bottom of it, as you can see, it's right down here somewhere, going through that I'm One Fun Guy podcast on YouTube. So if you just go to YouTube and you type in One Fun Guy podcast, I will pop up. If you subscribe to my channel, I would be super appreciative of that. So like I said, I have these guests in the pipeline. Kaji's going to be on Saturday. I believe Amanda's going to be on Sunday. The following week is going to be, I can't remember, I wrote it down, but I have guests lined up now through July. So I am excited about that. So like I said, the train is rolling, it's on the track, and it's going in the right direction. I just need to pick up a little bit of speed and a little bit of steam and get that engine going, and keep it gliding down the track. So with that being said, I just wanted to thank everybody again for being a part of this podcast, for being a part of this community, for following me here on Facebook, sending me friend requests, sending me the messages, doing the same thing on Instagram, doing the same thing on TikTok, subscribing to my YouTube channel. I appreciate all the love and support and all the help I can get, guys. I really want it to be successful, and I'm working on that. My goal, like I said, is to get to the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I am far from it. I think I have 147 as of now. So as soon as I get to 200, once I get to 500, I think it'll be much easier to get to the 1,000. But once I get to the 1,000, then I can kind of just, pump, every bit of energy into getting people on my podcast, because I will have the following to be able to do that. And like I said, from 1,000, it'll go to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 and so on. I'll get there eventually, but I know it takes time, and I wasn't expecting it to happen overnight. But now that I actually am starting to reach out to more famous people and more predominant people, they, like I said, they say they like the podcast, they like the style, they like everything about it. I just don't have the numbers. So until I get them, I'm not going to be able to get those guests on my show, and I want them on my show. And in order for me to do that, like I said, I just need the sheer volume of numbers to be able to do that. So it'll happen eventually. I'm not just, like I said, I'm not discouraged. I'm not, begging for people to, but I am asking for help. So if you feel that, this show is, fun enough for you to watch and to be a part of and to do that, if you could just subscribe to my YouTube channel, maybe share it out to some of your friends, see if they can subscribe. That way I get my numbers up. Like I said, if I can get to 200 pretty quickly, I'm probably sure I can get to 500 pretty quickly. And then once I hit my 1,000, I think that'll be a really, really big milestone. But then it'll also, like I said, help me with my platform and how to get guests on my show. So with that being said, I'm 25 minutes into this episode, so I will wrap things up now, just by once again saying thank you, and your comments, your messages, your positive energy doesn't go unnoticed. I appreciate all the love and support. I truly do, guys. When you hit that thumbs up, or you send me a message, or shoot me a message on TikTok or on Instagram, I read them all. I read all the messages on YouTube. I read all my messages on Facebook. I really, really appreciate you guys doing this for me and supporting me, and, being a part of this community and this podcast. It really means a lot to me. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody for all their help, their dedication, their loyalty to the podcast and to me. It really means a lot to me, guys. If you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would really, really help immensely. I can't stress that enough. Like I said, I don't feel like I want to beg for you to do that, but if you could just help, me out and do that, that would be great. Just as a friend or a fan of the podcast, I will leave it at that. I am going to post this video up on YouTube. It'll be up in probably about an hour. And then I'm going to promote Kaji's podcast for Saturday. So again, Kaji will be my guest this Saturday. We're going to talk music. We're going to talk instruments. We're going to talk setup. We're going to talk, everything that he does on TikTok, growing the community, the metal scene, the metal community, his fans, my fans. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited to have him on. He is going to be a fantastic guest, and I'm super stoked to have him on. And again, guys, follow him on TikTok. If you don't have TikTok, it doesn't matter. You can just go to TikTok and type in Kaji or Cult of Kaji on Instagram. If you have Instagram, he's on there too. It leads you right to his TikTok, and watch his videos, guys. He is an amazing guitarist. He usually goes live for about an hour, and he just plays all these awesome songs. And the guy is an incredible, talented musician. And hopefully one day he starts writing his own riffs, because I really think that he's an incredible talent in the music industry, and he is going to be going places. And I'm glad that he's going to be on my podcast first. Hopefully this is his first podcast, and it'll be one of many for him. He is uber talented, and I'm so excited to have him as a guest. With that being said, I just wanted to thank everybody for hopping on. If you didn't catch this live, don't worry about it. It'll be on Facebook. It'll live here for about 30 days, but it will be forever in my YouTube channel. So I will bank it over there. And I hope to see you guys all on Saturday morning with Kaji. If you don't catch it on Saturday, guys, don't worry. It'll be up on YouTube. It'll be here on Facebook. I'm super excited. I'm going to try and post it on TikTok Live too. I don't know if I can do that, but I'm surely going to try to figure it out just for his community so that they could see it over on my YouTube channel. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody again for being a part of this. I am the One Fun Guy podcast. I will see you guys live Saturday morning with Kaji. And please, 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 guys, if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, again, that would really help immensely. I will see you guys all on Saturday morning. Take care and have a good night.